Welcome to a championship edition of Sports from the Stool. I'm Garrett Simmons.
I'm Greg Price.
And we're here to discuss the Stanley Cup Final here. We have the Chicago Blackhawks against the Cinderella Philadelphia Flyers, who I guess really aren't a Cinderella team when you look at their roster. I think many people at the start of the year predicted them to be Stanley Cup finalists. They had some rough patches in the regular season, obviously, but they've come together at the right time. I don't know, do you see that the Flyers as a big Cinderella team?
I wouldn't say a Cinderella team. I would just say that their path to the Stanley Cup Final is a tad easier than Chicago's. Let's put it that way. So, but no, I mean, on paper, right from the start of the season, this team was looked very, very good on paper. So I wouldn't really say it's a Cinderella team. It's just they just found their groove a little bit later, and they're mirroring the Pittsburgh Penguins from last year. Fired coach partway through the season, and now they're cruising.
Yeah, just to think, you know, they got into the playoffs with a last-second shootout win over the Rangers, and now they're in the Stanley Cup Final. It's pretty mind-boggling. But let's break down the matchup. Of course, I'm predicting the Flyers in 6. That's my prediction. Greg, what's your prediction?
My prediction is probably Chicago in 6. Some people may be looking at this sort of weird jersey that I'm wearing right now, but I'm just still too despondent over my Pittsburgh Penguins losing. So I'm paying homage to one of my brother-in-law's former hockey team in the German Elite League, the Hamburg Freezers. So because I didn't have any other hockey jerseys in my closet, so
I've got about 3 more Flyers jerseys than I'm wearing.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
But I guess getting back down to the series, why the Flyers will win. Why the Flyers will win is because they have depth up front. They have unmatched depth up front. The Blackhawks have some good forwards, but the Flyers have 3 lines that can come at you in so many different ways. With Jeff Carter back, having that top line, Carter, Gagnon, Richards, that's going to be a force in this playoffs, in this series. They're going to be fantastic. Briere, Hartnell, and Lieno. Lieno, again, another waiver wire pick. He's a point-a-game player. If Hartnell can get his big body presence going, I think that line's going to be fantastic. Briere's already been great in the playoffs. And then look at that third line. Van Riemsdyk, Giroux, and Asham. Giroux has been tremendous. Asham was great in Game 5. The only key is Van Riemsdyk. He's got to get going, use his big body, and he's got to get going. And of course the fourth line, the Perrier, Betts, and Powell. A lot of good grinders there. And of course we're not even talking about Carcillo yet. Carcillo hasn't even been in the line for the last 2 games. He can be an instant impact player. So I like that forward depth. I think that's the reason why the Flyers are going to win this series.
Well, I guess, like you say, it's great to say all those things on paper, but then there's reality. Like I say, I think there's 9 players on the Chicago Blackhawks that have scored 9 or more points compared to, I think, 7 for the Philadelphia Flyers. I think that their path up to the Cup has been harder, playing tough teams like San Jose and Vancouver, and even their first-round opponent, Nashville. Like everyone's saying about that defensive grinding style team. Well, they found that they could beat that style of team as well. And I'm sorry, I'm going to trash Philadelphia's path to the Stanley Cup right now. You're playing against a Montreal Canadiens team where their third leading scorer is still a -6. Their goalie has faced 100 more shots than any other goalie, not to mention 320 blocked shots heading into the Eastern Conference.
Let's not forget, though, that the Capitals and the Penguins, the 2 top teams in the East, could not solve Yaroslav Halak, and the Flyers could. So well, there might be something there, too.
Smoke and mirrors, as far as I'm concerned, as far as Montreal. And my hat is tipped to Halak, but I think that was a one-trick pony with that team. And
Halak and Camilleri, they were a 2-trick pony. That's really.
I mean, it's a pretty scary proposition when 17 of you've made the Eastern Conference Final and 17 of your players are in the minus.
Yeah,
and your top player is a +2, the rookie defenseman in PK Subban on your team. So, I'm
not hearing a lot of compelling evidence as to why the Blackhawks are going to win here. I've heard that the Flyers' run to the playoffs was. I think they did beat the number 2 team, the New Jersey Devils, who have one of the league's elite scorers, Kovalchuk, one of the league's elite goalies, and Brodeur, and had the second best record in the East, and they beat them 4-1. I think there's some credit needs to be deserved there. And another reason I think the Flyers have a great chance in this series is their defense, their top 4 defense. Pronger and Carl and Coburn and Timonen have been fantastic. I think they're going to get a ton of minutes again, and I think they're going to have a great chance of shutting down those top 2 lines of the Blackhawks. The way they played, they've shut down everybody they played. They played fantastic. I think that's a big reason why they have a better shot than a lot of people think they do.
Well, again, but now you're going to be facing another hot goalie in that Chicago has in the Emmy, where I think he has the second highest save percentage in the NHL playoffs this year.
And the highest save percentage is owned by Michael Leighton, Philadelphia Flyers,
who's played one series. So those numbers are skewed a bit. We're talking about a goalie that's been in net since game 1 of the playoffs. So
yeah,
those stats are a little bit skewed there.
Yeah.
And like I say, and a lot of people are saying that, Philadelphia's size. Well, when you've got, we're not saying players that are playing in the NHL playoffs right now, but at least in the active roster that they can be called up. We got 12 players with the Blackhawks that are 6'1" or bigger. I mean, that's another thing, is people are saying the size of Philadelphia. It's not like we're not facing a Smurf lineup like Montreal.
I don't think the Flyers' size is going to be a big factor in the series. I think it's going to be. I think it could be a high-scoring series. I think both teams have untested goalies. I know as well as Leighton and Niemi have played. They're both untested. They're both going to get a lot of shots, a lot of traffic in front of the net. I mean, these are two teams that are going to go hard to the net. They're going to crash. They're going to drive the net as hard as they can. They're going to make life extremely difficult for both goaltenders. It's going to be. I think it's going to be a high-scoring series. You're going to see a lot of 4-3, 5-4 games. It's going to be an exciting series. This could be one of the most exciting Stanley Cup Finals that we've had in the last, I think, 4 or 5 years. This is going to be a good series. And take nothing away from the Blackhawks. They have a ton of skill. Taves and Kane and Sharp and Versteeg and Bufflin. I mean, they have a lot of skill, a lot of guys that can score, and a lot of ways they can hurt you differently. I mean, you got Kane's speed, you got Bufflin's size. I mean, it's going to be a tough series. It's going to be survival of the fittest for sure.
Like I say, when you got a 257-pound player with, I think it's 5 or 6 game-winning goals, you know that even the quote-unquote non-big scores are coming through for the Blackhawks.
Yeah.
And I think you're talking about your secondary players. It's not necessarily just the top lines. And Chicago's had their big players show up just as much as the Flyers have. So,
But I think the key to this series is going to be the third line of Van Riemsdyk, Ashram, and Giroux. And Ashram really showed something that fifth game, and he's got great hands. He's got good skill for a big, tough guy. If that third line, if Giroux can produce for the Flyers, I think they're going to be all right. 'Cause, I mean, Carter and Gagné and Richards are going to see a lot of Seabrook and Keith. And obviously Helmerson and Brian Campbell are going to be seeing a lot of Briere and Hartnell. If that third line from the Flyers can produce, that's going to be the difference in this series.
and what's scary about this is, I know I'm going to pick Chicago in 6, but we could have been looking at probably a mini dynasty happening. But then you've got all that money that's tied up in a backup goalie and your 4th best defense.
Q-Wade, yeah.
So I don't know. I just think Chicago in 6. So.
Okay. All right. Well, that's our take on the Stanley Cup playoffs. Another installment of Sports from the Stool. I'm Garrett Simmons.
And I'm Brent Price.
See you next week.